All right, so I'm just going to quickly go over a trade that, in hindsight, I missed, and kind of go over the reasons I didn't take it. And yeah, so going into the day on the live stream, I was bearish until we headed into my initial draw on liquidity was this daily fair value gap here. That was my initial draw, so I was bearish up until that point. After we tapped into there, I was going to be looking for buys. Okay. Now, truth be told, I was away from the charts for like 5 minutes after we tapped in here. I didn't think that it was going to go up as fast as it did. Okay, so that's number one reason why I didn't take this trade, is I legitimately was not at the charts. Now, the second reason I didn't take this trade, I wasn't quite certain on the draw on liquidity where I could set my take profit, and I have to be certain of that before I enter any trade. Now, here's the deal. I was okay with taking the trade to equilibrium, or a little bit higher than equilibrium of the dealing range that we had here. This would have been that trade if I was at the charts. The only opportunity to get in would have been, you see a sweep here, tap into a higher time frame PD array. On top of that, on the 5 minute, right, clear sweep as well. So we got two sweeps, distribution off of a higher time frame PD array. Everything you need to enter. Now, the only thing that wouldn't have been ideal would have been, again, just the risk to reward. This was the only target I was like somewhat certain of. Now, I could have targeted a little bit higher. I could have targeted this, looked for a PD array above the premium range here. Premium of the range. I could have done that, but I really was just going to target here, which would have been a 1-to-1. I missed that entry again because I wasn't at the charts, so that was the trade that I definitely missed. However, again, just wasn't certain on the draw, so once we traded higher and above this equilibrium here of the dealing range from this morning, I wasn't certain if I should enter again. Like, for instance, this would have been a decent RR, right? Like, let's say, okay, we get in off of this fair value gap. We have to account for all of these fair value gaps. So I'm putting my stop. It's a pretty wide stop, right? And what am I targeting? Well, look, in hindsight, right, we target this for a 1-to-1. Pretty solid, right? No drawdown whatsoever. You know, but I wasn't certain of us getting to this point because we had this liquidity here, albeit, you know, solid argument that these are equal highs, of course. However, the fact that these equal highs swept liquidity, I wasn't as enticed to take the trade to that point. Had liquidity never been swept at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. this morning, and these were equal highs, then that would have really enticed me to get in for the trade and target that high right there. That being said, obviously all this is in hindsight, but I want to learn from it. Full transparency, I didn't even really like the sweep that I got. I'll explain why. I typically look for 15-minute sweeps. Now looking back, we do get that too. So I think I was just a little bit blinded today. And a little bit, I handicapped myself a little bit. In all honesty, because when you look back, now of course the daily time frame was bearish technically, because, and it still is based on order flow. However, again, solid PD array that we tapped into. So I fully understand why we went higher. And looking back, I mean, that's a solid sweep. Like, genuinely, I was blinded by it, I guess. Like, the 15-minute here, like, that's a sweep. Now, even so, you know, the best possible thing I could have done today would have been this entry here. Stop underneath the low, targeting this high would have been the only thing that made sense. So 1 to 2.7 would have been that. Looking back, that would have been the best trade I could have taken based on my rules. I wouldn't have broken any rules there. But again, I just wasn't certain of this being my take profit and that being the next draw. So that was number one. Number two, I was away from the charts when this happened. I just didn't expect it to happen as quickly as it did, but looking back, I should have been at the charts. I mean, we tapped into this higher time frame PD array and we got the sweep. We got everything I needed. So, you know, looking back, solid trade. I just, you know, I was kind of blinded by it a little bit. I don't know. Again, we're just getting back to the charts after a little break, so I'm still a little rusty, but just, you know, building back that confidence to enter, and, you know, this would have been a solid trade, so that's that. Right now, I believe this isn't the next draw. That's why I marked it up there. I was hoping, if anything, to get an entry. We would sweep these lows first and then go for it. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. But yeah, so that was today. Gave a very, very solid opportunity based around my rules, based around my model. I just, again, like, I had some blinders on. I don't know. You know, it's easy to go back in time and say, oh, this was, you know, this should have been taken, right? It's a whole different ball game when you're seeing it in real time, and you have to hit that entry button, or you have to hit that limit order button, right? So, you know, just getting back in the groove here. But yeah, that was today's price action. So